I hit a $72 million company on purpose. I lived small, dressed plain, stayed quiet, because I wanted to know one thing: who respected me without numbers attached. My wife saw only a struggling husband and treated me like dead weight instead of a partner. Every insult, every dismissal, every moment of embarrassment was tolerated by choice. Then a message arrived telling me not to attend a family dinner because I wasn't wanted there. That was the moment the test ended. One financial statement changed everything. And what happened after that was something nobody was prepared for. Before I tell everything, do a small favor for me: stay with this story, drop a comment about where you're listening from, and help this reach anyone who might be living inside a quiet lie like this one. At 29, life looked smaller than it should have. A one-bedroom apartment above a closed tailor shop. A dented sedan that rattled at traffic lights. Clothes bought on clearance racks. No photos on social media. No flashy vacations. No bragging. That wasn't failure. That was strategy. Marriage was 3 years old. Love had once been loud: late-night talks, shared plans, promises whispered under blankets. Somewhere along the way, respect turned into disappointment. My wife stopped asking opinions. Then stopped asking questions. Then stopped asking anything at all. Dinner conversations became lectures. Why can't you be more ambitious? Other husbands actually provide. Parents are worried. Parents-in-law lived 15 minutes away in a gated community filled with matching SUVs and loud weekend laughter. Every visit felt like an audit. Shoes judged. Watch noticed. Car parked too far from the driveway, like poverty might scratch the pavement. No arguments came from this side of the table. Silence worked better. Silence collected data. The company wasn't new. 12 years earlier, while classmates chased internships and parties, nights were spent building back-end systems for logistics firms. Boring work. Invisible work. Profitable work. Contracts stacked quietly. Clients renewed automatically. No branding. No press. No ego. Just scale. A holding structure kept everything buried under layers of boring names and shell addresses. Money moved slowly, safely, and without noise. Wealth didn't need applause. The marriage needed observation. The message arrived on a Wednesday afternoon. Don't come to the family dinner this weekend. Parents don't feel comfortable with the situation. No greeting. No explanation. Just exclusion wrapped in politeness. The phone stayed still in my hand for a long time. No anger. No shock. Just confirmation. Dinner invitations had already thinned. Seats always placed near the kitchen. Conversations held around, not with. Jokes landed that required laughter but carried knives. Parents-in-law believed the marriage was a mistake. A daughter deserved better. A son-in-law without visible success didn't qualify. That message wasn't a boundary. That message was a verdict. No reply went out. The next morning, coffee tasted the same. The mirror showed the same face. Work calls continued. Servers ran smoothly. Revenue climbed invisibly. What changed was intention. All shared expenses stopped, immediately, silently, legally. The rent auto-transfer canceled. The joint credit card locked. The emergency fund access removed. No announcement. No confrontation. Just absence. By noon, the phone vibrated. Did something happen with the account? Card isn't working. Please check. Silence answered. By evening, the doorbell rang. My wife stood outside holding a phone in confusion. Not anger. Confusion comes before anger. What's going on? Payments bounced. Parents are asking questions. The door stayed open. The answer stayed inside. I was told not to come to dinner. That wasn't like that. Parents were stressed. Just temporary. Temporary disrespect always asks for permanent obedience. I'm not comfortable funding spaces where I'm not welcome. That sentence landed wrong. Not because of tone. Because of implication. Eyes narrowed. Voice sharpened. You don't get to punish family. This isn't punishment. This is consequences. Laughter followed. Not joy. Disbelief. What consequences? There's nothing to take. That sentence was noted carefully. The door closed gently. The next day brought pressure. Calls from parents-in-law. Messages wrapped in concern. Just checking on finances. Stress can affect judgment. Support systems matter. Support systems don't remove seats at tables. A lawyer appointment was already scheduled, quietly, months earlier. Not for divorce. For structure. For protection. For this exact moment. Documents were updated. Powers removed. Access tightened. Everything clean. Everything compliant. Friday arrived. A knock echoed louder this time. Parents-in-law arrived together. No smiles. No invitations. Just authority. This situation is embarrassing. Marriage requires contribution. Stability matters. Contribution apparently had a price tag. Stability apparently required submission. I've contributed. Not visibly. Visibility isn't value. A folder slid across the table. Inside sat a printed financial statement. Clean. Official. Verified. Numbers with commas that changed oxygen levels in rooms. Silence replaced lectures. Pages turned slowly. Hands trembled. A father-in-law cleared a throat that suddenly lacked confidence. This can't be accurate. The laptop opened. Login credentials entered calmly. Dashboards loaded. Accounts displayed. Holdings summarized. Valuations current. No boasting. No speeches. Just truth. A wife stared like a stranger had replaced a spouse. You hid this? I observed. Parents-in-law shifted from judges to negotiators in seconds. Well, misunderstandings happen. Family dinners are flexible. Respect goes both ways. Respect didn't arrive late. Respect never came at all. I was told not to come. That decision came from discomfort. Discomfort is revealing. A chair scraped back. A voice rose. This is manipulation. No. This was a mirror. The room filled with fear disguised as relief. Control lost always screams first. A request followed. Predictable. Let's reset. Let's move forward. Let's talk investments. That word sealed everything. There will be no reset. There will be no access. There will be no pretending. The statement closed. The laptop shut? This marriage wasn't about love anymore. This marriage became an evaluation. A wife whispered, "So what now?" Now comes honesty. The door opened again, not to let anyone in, but to let something out. Because what happened next didn't involve money at all. The silence after closing the laptop felt heavier than shouting ever could. No one moved. Parents-in-law stared at the table. My wife stared at the wall like the paint might answer questions no one wanted to ask out loud. "I need air," came a quiet voice from the person who once promised partnership. The apartment door closed behind that sentence. I stayed seated. Not frozen. Anchored. This wasn't victory. This was clarity. For years, marriage had slowly turned into a performance review. Tone measured. Income questioned. Comparisons offered as motivation. Every dinner came with invisible scorecards. Ambition wasn't missing. Visibility was. And invisibility had been intentional. The company existed long before marriage. Built during nights fueled by cheap coffee and stubborn focus. Systems designed to scale without noise. Contracts written to renew automatically. Clients cared about uptime, not personality. The quieter everything stayed, the safer it became. That same philosophy had guided personal life. Live clean. Live small. Observe patterns. Learn truth without interference. The truth had just spoken. The phone buzzed on the table. A message from parents-in-law arrived within minutes. This was unnecessary. Family doesn't test family. Trust goes both ways. Trust had already been tested. Quietly. Thoroughly. No response went out. That night, sleep didn't come quickly. Not because of fear. Because of memory. First apartment shared. Cheap mattress on the floor. Late-night ramen dinners. Dreams spoken like promises. Back then, success meant building something together. Somewhere along the way, success became a comparison sport. Morning arrived without alarm. Coffee brewed slowly. The mirror reflected the same face. No regret lived there. The next message came mid-morning. We should talk. Not like this. Parents are upset. Upset didn't equal wronged. I'm open to talk, I replied. With honesty. The reply took longer. Come over tonight. Parents will be there. The invitation felt less like reconciliation and more like negotiation. I'll come, I typed. Not to explain. To listen. That evening, the gated house looked exactly the same. Trimmed hedges. Polished driveway. The smell of wealth mixed with insecurity. Inside, seating had changed. No kitchen chair. A central place at the table waited. Respect offered only after proof. Parents-in-law spoke first. This whole situation escalated too fast. There was no need for secrecy. A marriage should be transparent. Transparency only mattered once leverage appeared. I lived simply, I said. That wasn't deception. That was choice. A mother-in-law leaned forward. Choice affects others. Our daughter felt unsafe. Financial uncertainty creates stress. Financial uncertainty didn't exist, I replied. Assumptions did. My wife finally spoke. Why hide something this big? Was this about control? Was this a lesson? No, I answered. This was about seeing. Silence followed again. Seeing what, came the question. How treatment changes when worth is assumed instead of known. A father-in-law sighed. People respond to responsibility. Providers earn respect. I provided stability, I said calmly. Just not theater. The table shifted. Tone softened. Strategy emerged. Well, came a careful voice, now that everything is clear, maybe it's time to plan properly. There it was. Planning. Assets. Growth. Involvement. I won't mix business with family, I said. That boundary exists for a reason. But marriage is partnership, my wife said. Everything should be shared. Partnership requires baseline respect, I replied. That disappeared before money entered the room. A hand slammed the table. So what is this? Punishment? Power play? This is alignment, I answered. And alignment is overdue. A long pause followed. Then a different tone entered. What do you want? The question wasn't about reconciliation. It was about terms. I want space, I said. And time. For what? My wife asked. To decide whether marriage exists without conditions. Parents-in-law exchanged looks. That's not how families work. That's exactly how families work, I replied. When respect is optional, distance becomes necessary. The dinner ended early. No shouting. No tears. Just tension pretending to be calm. Back home, the apartment felt different. Not empty. Clear. A suitcase appeared by the bedroom door an hour later. I'm staying with parents for a while, my wife said. This is too much. Take the time needed, I replied. Clarity benefits everyone. The door closed softly. Days passed. No messages. No calls. Silence stretched. Work continued uninterrupted. Contracts renewed. A board meeting occurred virtually. Expansion plans advanced. None of it leaked into personal life. That separation revealed something unexpected. Peace. No walking on verbal eggshells. No explaining purchases. No justifying ambition. No shrinking to fit comfort zones. Then the lawyer called. Your spouse scheduled a consultation, came the update. Financial discovery may be requested. I nodded. Let it happen. Discovery cuts both ways. Another week passed before contact resumed. A message arrived late at night. I didn't know how much resentment existed. Parents crossed lines. But marriage shouldn't be collateral damage. I read it twice. Marriage already took damage, I replied. Money just exposed it. The reply came slower. What if parents apologize? What if boundaries are reset? What if we start over? Start over meant forgetting patterns. I don't want apologies, I typed. I want accountability. A pause followed. Then? For what? For treating partnership like an upgrade path, I replied. For valuing presence only after proof. The typing indicator blinked. Stopped. Blinked again. Are you saying divorce? I'm saying evaluation, I answered. Without pressure. That night, a notification popped up from a financial monitoring service. An access attempt flagged. Blocked. Someone had tried to log into an account without permission. The source location matched a familiar address. Parents-in-law's city. I forwarded the alert to the lawyer. This confirms intent, came the response. Proceed carefully. The next day, the call finally came. A voice trembled. There was a misunderstanding. Parents thought shared finances meant shared access. No harm was intended. Intent matters less than action. Access isn't trust, I said. Access is entitlement. A pause. Then anger surfaced. So money matters more than marriage? No, I answered. Respect matters more than money. Another silence. Then what happens now? Now comes distance, I said. Until actions change. The line went dead. That evening, an email arrived from parents-in-law. Formal. Cold. Legal language disguised as concern. Given recent behaviors, we suggest mediation. Neutral parties help de-escalate. This protects everyone involved. Protection from whom? I agree to mediation, I replied. With independent counsel present. The date was set. Mediation rooms always smell like neutral carpet and bottled water. Designed to feel calm while tension sweats through walls. My wife arrived first. Tired eyes. Less certainty. No parents present. I didn't expect this to go so far, came the opening line. Distance reveals scale, I replied. The mediator spoke gently. This space is for understanding perspectives. Understanding requires honesty. My perspective is simple, I said. Marriage shifted from partnership to performance. Money became the metric. My wife nodded slowly. Pressure existed, came the reply. Parents expected standards. Standards don't excuse disrespect, I answered. The mediator asked, what outcome feels fair? Autonomy, I said. And a marriage free from external control. A breath. Then a confession. Parents influence too much, my wife admitted. Fear of judgment took over. Fear changes behavior, I said. So does incentive. Silence again. Then the question I'd been waiting for arrived. Is there a future? I leaned back. A future exists only if this marriage stands without money as leverage. The room stayed quiet. I need time, my wife said. Take it, I replied. Time clarifies truth. As the session ended, the mediator offered a closing note. Sometimes wealth doesn't cause problems, came the soft voice. It accelerates existing ones. Outside, the sky looked different. Lighter. The phone buzzed once more that night. A message from parents-in-law. We don't approve of this direction. But decisions are yours. Approval was never required. I placed the phone face down. Mediation didn't end with closure. Mediation ended with exposure. Walking out of that office, the realization settled in slowly, distance had already changed the balance. Control had slipped. The illusion of leverage had cracked. The next few days passed quietly. Too quietly. No messages from a spouse. No updates from parents-in-law. No accidental calls disguised as concern. That silence didn't feel peaceful. That silence felt strategic. Work stayed steady. Meetings happened. Reports reviewed. Numbers moved. Systems kept running without input. That was the point of building things correctly. Absence didn't cause collapse. On the fourth morning, an email arrived from legal counsel. Preliminary financial discovery request submitted. Not from mediation. From the other side. The attachment included a formal request for asset disclosure, corporate valuation, personal accounts, trusts, and historical income records. No emotion followed. Only confirmation. The attempt wasn't reconciliation. The attempt was extraction. I forwarded the email to my attorney with one sentence. Proceed. The response came within minutes. Understood. Countermeasures already prepared. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. No warning text. No call. Just presence. Opening the door revealed a familiar posture, shoulders squared, chin raised, concern rehearsed. Parents-in-law stood side by side like a united front. This conversation can't wait, came the opening line. It can, I replied. But it won't. Inside, seating was offered politely. No coffee poured. No pleasantries exchanged. We're worried, a parent said. This path leads to unnecessary damage. Damage already occurred, I answered. Silence doesn't erase it. This isn't about silence, another voice added. This is about responsibility. Responsibility again. I've carried responsibility for years, I said calmly. Just without audience. A folder slid across the table. Printed charts. Financial projections. Future planning documents. Corporate logos appeared in headers. My company's branding, copied from public records. This is impressive, a parent said. But scale invites structure. Structure meant involvement. I don't require oversight, I replied. You require family, came the correction. Family didn't attempt unauthorized account access. Family didn't request conservatorship disguised as care. Family didn't treat partnership like acquisition. That definition doesn't match experience, I said. The tone hardened. Marriage joins futures, came the statement. Assets included. Marriage joins people, I replied. Not entitlement. A pause. Then divorce becomes inevitable. Divorce becomes possible, I corrected. Not inevitable. The difference mattered. Parents-in-law exchanged looks. Think carefully, one said. Reputation matters. So did documentation. Everything discussed today is recorded, I said. Transparency benefits all parties. Silence followed. Chairs scraped. The visit ended without handshake. That evening, legal counsel called. Escalation confirmed, came the update. Discovery request expanded. Proceed with full compliance, I said. No delays. Compliance exposes truth faster than resistance. 2 weeks passed. Financial documents transferred securely. Corporate structure outlined. Trust boundaries clarified. Asset separation documented in painful detail. Every attempt to blur lines failed. Every assumption about shared control dissolved. Then the counterattack arrived. A petition. Filed quietly. Worded carefully. Concerns regarding emotional instability, secrecy, and manipulative withholding of marital resources. The language was clean. The implication was clear. Control through narrative. My attorney responded within hours. Petition lacks foundation. Evidence contradicts claims. Motion to dismiss filed. Court dates followed. The courtroom didn't feel dramatic. The room felt administrative. Fluorescent lights. Hard benches. People waiting for outcomes nobody wanted to experience. My spouse sat across the aisle. No eye contact. No acknowledgement. Parents-in-law sat behind legal counsel. Observing. When asked to speak, I stood. I built a company before marriage, I said. That company remained separate by design. Simplicity was choice, not deception. The judge asked questions. Clear ones. Direct ones. Any history of missed obligations? No. Any evidence of incapacity? None. Any proof of financial misconduct? No. Opposing counsel attempted narrative framing. Secrecy erodes trust. Autonomy isn't secrecy, I replied. Control wasn't granted because control wasn't earned. The ruling came quickly. Petition dismissed. No warnings. No conditions. Just dismissal. Outside the courtroom, voices followed. You embarrassed the family. You forced this. You didn't have to go this far. I didn't, I replied. Actions did. That night, the apartment felt quiet again. But different. No tension. No waiting. A suitcase remained gone. The bedroom stayed untouched. 3 days later, a message arrived. I'm scared, the message read. Everything changed. Everything had always been there. I didn't know where loyalty belonged, the message continued. Pressure came from every direction. Pressure reveals alignment, I replied. A pause followed. I need counseling, came the next message. That's a good step, I answered. Independently. And us? After clarity, I said. Counseling began. Separately. Weeks passed. Communication stayed minimal. Polite. Sparse. Legal processes moved forward. Discovery closed. Financial independence reinforced. One evening, a request arrived. Dinner. Just us. I agreed. The restaurant wasn't fancy. Neutral ground. No audience. Sitting across the table felt unfamiliar. The dynamic had changed. I didn't recognize myself, came the confession. Approval mattered too much. Approval costs autonomy, I replied. I chose parents over partnership, the voice admitted. That choice had consequences. Silence followed. I don't want money, came the next sentence. I want respect. Respect doesn't begin after revelation, I answered. Respect exists before leverage. A nod. Tears restrained. What happens now? Boundaries stay, I said. Transparency remains. Control ends. And if parents interfere again? Then distance increases. The dinner ended quietly. No promises made. No resolutions forced. Weeks later, parents-in-law stopped calling. Legal counsel closed files. My spouse moved back, but into a separate space. Counseling continued. Slowly. No access requests returned. No financial discussions resurfaced. Trust rebuilt differently. Cautiously. Without illusion. The company remained invisible. The wealth stayed irrelevant. The lesson lingered. Money doesn't change people. Money unmasks expectations. And expectations determine whether partnership survives or collapses under entitlement. That understanding didn't arrive with drama. It arrived with distance, documentation, and decisions that refused to bend. And that was enough. Distance changes rhythm. Life settled into something quieter after counseling began. Separate spaces helped. Silence stopped feeling like punishment and started feeling like structure. Mornings returned to routine, early coffee, quick review of overnight reports, a short walk before calls started. Evenings stayed calm. No interrogations. No passive questions disguised as concern. Counseling sessions stayed individual. That mattered. No triangulation. No family voices in the background. Just two adults learning how badly outside pressure had warped decision-making. One session revealed something important. I grew up equating approval with safety, my spouse admitted during a later conversation. Disapproval felt dangerous. That explained a lot. Pressure from parents-in-law had never been loud. Pressure had been constant. Expectations wrapped in advice. Judgment disguised as care. The kind that doesn't shout but never leaves. I didn't see how much of that came home, came the next sentence. I felt it, I replied. Every time worth got measured. Silence followed. Not defensive silence. Processing silence. Trust doesn't rebuild through apology. Trust rebuilds through changed behavior. And behavior changed. Phone calls from parents-in-law stopped. Drop-in visits ended. Financial curiosity disappeared overnight. Conversations focused on daily life instead of future leverage. Still, damage doesn't erase itself. A month later, legal counsel sent a brief update. Opposing counsel withdrew remaining motions. No further action anticipated. That chapter closed quietly. The marriage, however, remained open-ended. One evening, a question arrived over dinner. Do you still see a future here? The question didn't feel like a trap. The question felt honest. I see possibility, I answered. Not certainty. What would certainty require? Independence, I said. From influence. From fear. From entitlement. A nod followed. I can do that, came the reply. But trust won't return instantly. Trust doesn't rush, I answered. Trust observes. Weeks passed. No tests appeared. No financial discussions surfaced. No subtle guilt attempts followed. Then something unexpected happened. Parents-in-law sent a letter. Not an email. Not a message. A letter. Short. Formal. Careful. Boundaries acknowledged. Apologies offered for overreach. Space respected. No excuses. No justification. That mattered. The letter stayed on the counter for days before being filed away. Forgiveness doesn't arrive through words alone. Forgiveness waits for consistency. Another counseling session ended differently. I'm learning to sit with disapproval, my spouse said. It doesn't destroy safety like expected. That's growth, I replied. I'm also learning something else, came the next line. Money never frightened me. Losing control did. Control is the quiet driver behind many conflicts. I won't fight for control, I said. Only clarity. Clarity came slowly. Shared routines returned, grocery trips, morning walks, quiet dinners without agenda. No financial planning sessions. No future mapping. Then came the question that changed tone entirely. Why hide everything for so long? The question wasn't accusatory. The question sounded curious. I wanted to know who respected presence instead of potential, I answered. And I needed peace while building something fragile. That cost connection, came the response. Yes, I admitted. And it protected autonomy. Another pause. I understand now, my spouse said quietly. I don't like it. But I understand it. Understanding doesn't equal agreement. But understanding opened space. Months passed. Legal matters stayed dormant. Counseling continued. Parents-in-law remained distant. Then a business complication arose. A regulatory audit triggered by expansion activity required temporary disclosure in limited circles. The company name appeared briefly in industry news. The article didn't mention personal identity. But curiosity spreads quickly. A message arrived within hours. I saw something online, my spouse said carefully. Is that? Yes, I replied. That's part of it. No shock followed. No demand. No follow-up questions. Thank you for telling me, came the reply. That response mattered more than any reaction before. Trust builds when curiosity doesn't turn predatory. Another week passed. Parents-in-law called. The first call in months. I didn't answer. A voicemail followed. Just checking in. No expectations. The voicemail went unanswered. Boundaries don't bend simply because tone softens. Later that evening, my spouse spoke. I don't expect reconciliation with parents, came the statement. Distance clarified too much. That decision is personal, I replied. Not required. But chosen, came the response. Choice changes weight. A joint counseling session happened after that. The counselor asked a direct question. What does partnership mean now? I answered first. Autonomy with alignment, I said. Not absorption. My spouse answered next. Support without ownership. Those answers matched more than expected. Slowly, shared space returned fully. Not rushed. Not celebrated. Just natural. No grand gestures followed. No renewed vows. No announcements. Life stabilized. Then, unexpectedly, a financial planner reached out. Not hired by me. Recommended by parents-in-law to my spouse. The suggestion arrived casually. Just someone neutral to help align futures. I declined. No third-party financial influence, I said calmly. The refusal was accepted without argument. That moment mattered. Months earlier, refusal triggered escalation. Now refusal triggered respect. Patterns had changed. The company continued to grow quietly. Systems expanded. Teams operated independently. Income increased without spectacle. The wealth remained irrelevant inside the home. Then a final test arrived. Parents-in-law requested a meeting. Not about money, came the message. About repair. I agreed to meet. Public space. Clear boundaries. The cafe stayed quiet. Neutral ground again. Parents-in-law arrived together. No lawyers. No folders. Apologies followed. Real ones. Not perfect. But genuine. We crossed lines, a parent admitted. Fear drove behavior. I accept acknowledgement, I replied. Not repetition. We understand, came the response. No reconciliation ceremony followed. Just clarity. As the meeting ended, one sentence lingered. Control feels like love when fear runs the relationship. That sentence stayed with me. Back home, life continued calmly. The marriage didn't transform overnight. But the power dynamic shifted permanently. Money no longer entered conversations. Approval stopped being currency. Respect became default. And that was enough to continue, carefully, intentionally, without illusion. Because the real victory wasn't exposure. The real victory was choosing peace over proving worth. Time does something strange once conflict settles. Days stop feeling reactive. Thoughts slow down. Decisions stop coming from defense and start coming from intention. The house felt different after the last meeting with parents-in-law. Not lighter. Clearer. Like furniture had been rearranged even though nothing physically moved. Silence no longer felt like waiting. Silence felt chosen. Mornings stayed consistent. Coffee brewed the same way. Reports reviewed at the same hour. The company ran without interruption. Growth continued without noise. That part never changed. What changed was the absence of pressure. No one asked about plans. No one hinted about inheritance. No one suggested optimization or alignment or legacy. Conversations returned to weather, routines, meals, ordinary life. That normality exposed something unexpected. I missed nothing. Not the validation. Not the approval. Not the imagined unity that always came with conditions. Counseling sessions continued, but tone shifted. Less unpacking. More maintenance. One session ended with a simple question. What would ending this marriage look like? The question wasn't framed as threat. The question sounded like exploration. I would leave cleanly, I answered. Without anger. Without financial entanglement. And staying? The counselor asked. Staying means choosing this version, I replied. Not the one that existed before money became visible. The answer surprised even me. That evening, conversation continued at home. I don't want to lose this, my spouse said quietly. But I won't pretend nothing happened. Pretending caused damage, I replied. Acknowledging prevents repetition. A nod followed. I don't expect forgiveness, came the next sentence. Only fairness. Fairness begins with boundaries, I said. Those remain. Acceptance arrived without argument. Weeks turned into months. No sudden gestures appeared. No grand apologies delivered in public settings. No announcements made to extended family. Consistency replaced spectacle. Parents-in-law remained distant but respectful. No drop-ins. No back-channel messages. No probing questions passed through intermediaries. That mattered. One afternoon, a call arrived from legal counsel. Final note, came the voice. All prior matters closed. No outstanding exposure. The file closed permanently. That night, dinner stayed quiet. Comfortable. Do you ever regret hiding everything? My spouse asked. No, I answered honestly. I regret how invisibility invited assumption. But not the choice itself. What would you do differently now? I wouldn't test again, I replied. Tests reveal truth, but they damage trust. Silence followed. Not heavy. Reflective. I don't want another test, came the response. Neither do I said. A few weeks later, something small happened. A conversation with friends drifted toward work. Someone mentioned an article. Industry news. No names. Just curiosity. My spouse answered calmly. Business runs quietly, came the reply. That's intentional. No pride. No defensiveness. Just fact. That moment mattered more than any apology. Later that night, I asked, why answer that way? Because nothing needs proving anymore, came the response. Trust doesn't return in waves. Trust returns in inches. Another counseling session ended with closure. Do you feel safe now? The counselor asked. Yes, I answered. Do you feel respected? Came the follow-up. Yes, I said again. That answer ended counseling. Life resumed without spotlight. Workdays stayed busy. Evenings stayed slow. Weekends stayed unscheduled. The company reached another milestone quietly. No celebration planned. No announcements made. Money remained a tool, not a topic. Then one final moment arrived. A letter appeared in the mailbox. Handwritten. Familiar script. Parents-in-law. Inside, no apology this time. Just acknowledgement. Distance taught perspective. Thank you for holding boundaries. The letter folded neatly and filed away. No reply sent. Some messages don't require response. Months later, a conversation happened naturally. Do you want children someday? My spouse asked. The question wasn't loaded. The question sounded open. Yes, I replied. Under one condition. What condition? That children never feel like leverage. The answer came without hesitation. Agreed. That agreement mattered more than anything written before. The house stayed quiet that night. Comfortable. I walked into the office space later and opened the laptop. Not to check numbers. Not to review performance. Just to look. The balance sat there unchanged. Large. Irrelevant. I closed the screen. Money had already done what it was going to do. It exposed motives. It tested alignment. It forced boundaries. What remained mattered more. The marriage wasn't perfect. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't performative. It was honest. And honesty didn't arrive through confrontation. Honesty arrived through refusal to be controlled, refusal to perform, refusal to shrink. In the end, nothing was taken. Nothing was proven. Nothing was flaunted. Respect returned because leverage disappeared. That was the lesson. Not everyone deserves access. Not every relationship survives truth. And peace costs less than approval. The quiet life continued. Exactly as intended. If you stayed until the end, thank you. These stories take time to tell and even more to live through. Subscribe if you want more real, grounded stories like this, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from.